Welcome to another episode of the Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson podcast. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited to bring back a very special guest on our show, Mr. Herman Kelly. And if you watched episode 59, you know that Mr. Kelly is a keynote speaker. He's a financial and tax strategist, and you don't want to miss this very special episode. So if you missed episode 59, we certainly don't want you to miss out on all the amazing gems that Mr. Kelly shared during that episode. So I'm going to play a recap from just a portion of the episode, and then we'll have a special sponsorship message, and we're going to jump right in so that we can do part 2 of purpose-driven leadership, building you and your wealth. And we want you to think about, how is your mindset impacting your wealth strategy? So we'll be back right after this with return guest, Mr. Herman Kelly of Next Step Consulting.
Right. Honestly, strictly because investing in yourself is the best way to increase your earning potential. If you have X amount of dollars, whether it's $400, $4,000, or $40,000, you're going to get a greater rate of return investing in a mentor, investing in better tools, better systems, and educating yourself. And now you're increasing your earning potential, which increases your financial faucet, is what I like to call it, because you can turn the faucet on to run faster and higher, right? So you increase your income, which in turn increases the amount you can invest in stocks and annuities and X, Y, and Z. But so invest in yourself, invest in your mentorship, invest in further education, and really take the time to identify the direction that you really want to go into. Investing.
Dreaming of writing a book, launching a podcast, or creating a digital course? Ready to finally align your career, creativity, and impact? The Purpose Aligned Life Premium Coaching Cohort is here to help you turn purpose into reality. You'll receive tailored services, a personalized one-on-one assessment, 10 weekly group sessions, and exclusive strategy session, all for your desired transformation.
And if you are interested in more information on the Purpose Aligned Life Premium Group Coaching Program, the information for you to book your own interest Zoom meeting is available in the chat on both the YouTube channels at Dr. April D. Dobson and at Purpose Today. So we are going to jump right in. I want to welcome Mr. Herman Kelly. Mr. Kelly, welcome back to the Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me. That's first and foremost. Thank you for having me back. The honor is all mine. I mean, come on, I'm sitting down with Dr. April Dobson. Come on, what more can I ask for? So I appreciate you having me back, honestly.
You're very welcome, and it's such a pleasure to have you back. I know last time when you were here, we had the opportunity of talking about building purpose-driven leadership, building you and your wealth. And there were so many things that we could have actually talked about last time, and we didn't delve into everything that we could have delved into. So I thought, what greater way to help Purpose Today podcast viewers than to have you come back and share additional amazing insights. So we are going to go ahead and jump right in. And for those of you who are watching, I do encourage you to put your questions, put your comments in the chat on YouTube, on the at Dr. April D. Dobson YouTube channel. And we are going to do our very best to answer all your questions as we go along today. So, Mr. Kelly, without further ado, I know that there are some people here who didn't hear anything about you, your family, your company. There's a lot that they're probably wondering. So, if they missed out on episode 59, can you please share some insight about yourself, whatever you want to share with our viewers who are watching live today?
Yes, ma'am. Well, my name is Herman Kelly. I'm a licensed tax consultant, author, speaker, father of 3 beautiful girls. And overall, just opportunist and optimist. That's, inspirational speaker. I do it all. I do it all. Whatever I can do to give back, that is my goal. But ultimately, like I said, author, licensed tax consultant, business strategist, and speaker. That's me.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Kelly. And you talked about being a business strategist and tax strategist. So can you tell viewers a little bit more about how you help entrepreneurs, how you help families? Because people are always needing an excellent strategy for what they're doing. So I just want to delve a little bit more into that.
What I do to help people, essentially, I help businesses earn money and save money. That's we do our best to affect the bottom line. So as far as assisting in earning money, that's what we kind of tap in with marketing, because we realize, and it's free game. It doesn't matter how wonderful your product is if no one knows your product exists. So one thing we definitely prioritize is teaching companies how to market properly and really get their message out there. And how we save the money on the back end is through the tax strategies. So another financial concept is really not about how much money you earn. It's about how much of that money you're able to keep. So we help you with your business structures and structuring your taxes to where we teach you how to earn the money, and we teach you how to keep the money in your pockets. And if you want to do some financial strategies, we also help you grow that money and scale your business. So every phase of the business, we have a hand in it if you choose to do so.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Kelly. You said several things that I want us to unpack more. One of the things that you said, it does you no good if you have a business and no one knows about you. They don't know about your products. They don't know about your services. Can you tell viewers, what are some things that business owners can do to help them to ensure more people, they have an audience, their right audience, learning about the services and products that they provide? What are some strategies?
Well, the first thing they want to do is, you mentioned that they have the right audience, but that's ultimately the first thing we want to identify, is ensuring that you have the right target audience. Because the more broad your message is, the less people you reach, actually. So you want to make sure that your particular product is one that the market desires, not necessarily this is my dream product. I've always wanted to put this out to the market. It doesn't matter what you want it to do. It's about what the market desires at that particular time. So we want to first make sure that you have a product that's solving someone's problem that they want to solve. And the individuals that you're solving the problem for can afford your solution, right? So because it doesn't matter if I want to sell $1 million product to someone is going to get them out of poverty. They can't afford the product. So you want to make sure that your product matches your target audience. And from there, we can focus on messaging and what specifically is the message you want to get across to your audience. And can they comprehend it and digest it? Because so often the message is so complex or so vague or so vast that, yes, you're giving them a concept, but just by hearing your message, they should know what it is you're selling to them, or more importantly, the solution that you're providing for them, not just a broad statement, which is generally people want to, put something out there that sounds cool, but it doesn't really give the client any clarity or any motivation to move forward with them or even look deeper into the product they're offering. So that's the first thing we want to look into. And secondly, we also want to look into the longevity of the business and your I want to say your strategy, but ultimately, what is your long-term goal? Because often people tend to go into a service-based business, which kind of limits them, because if you're providing a service, that means you have to be present, and we're all limited on time. So you're putting a cap on your earning capabilities. So kind of diversifying their product, making sure, one, they have more than one product or service they're offering, and kind of, building from there. Now you asked me one question. I could talk days and days about business strategy and marketing, but those are the first things I'll start with.
Thank you so very much. And you dropped some amazing wisdom for viewers, ensuring that the target audience is able to understand the message that they're relaying. You shared ensuring that their message isn't too broad, so the people who are looking for the type of product or service that they offer can understand that they're the person who fits into that. That is excellent. So excellent. And I see we're already having questions and comments. Olivia Chandler says, you already know this is going to be a powerful one when episode 59 wasn't enough. Thank you so much, Olivia, for that compliment. And we have a question for you, Mr. Herman, from David Selwood. He wants to know what made you feel there was so much more to unpack after episode 59.
Well, after I watched episode 59 and reviewed all the questions, I just felt like there was so much more to give. There's always more to give, right? And as the more we learn, so does the shore of the unknown, right? The more we learn, the more we realize we don't know. So I just felt like there's so much more information to give. And guess what? We're on episode 67. There's going to be a third. I have to assure you there's going to be a third, because one philosophy I truly live by is that if you can give someone all of your wisdom and experience in one conversation, you need to go learn some more stuff, right? So after this conversation, I'm going to continue to learn and grow, and thus gives me another opportunity to provide my community and my circle with more value. So to directly answer your question, what made me say there's more to unpack? Because there's always going to be more to unpack, because I'm always going to continue to learn and be able to bring value to you all, which is the foundation of earning, but providing value to others.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Herman, and thank you so much, Clayton, for that compliment that this conversation is already giving practical value, and that you appreciate that we're connecting leadership with financial responsibility. So thank you so very much for that. And I know the questions just keep on coming. And so we're going to try to get to everyone's question as best we can. But like you said, Mr. Herman, there's already going to be a 3, because there's so much more, yes, that we'll be able to talk about. So Rochelle asked, how can someone identify whether their current financial decisions are actually aligned with their purpose? And Mr. Herman, I'm going to let you answer that question.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great question, Rochelle. How can someone identify whether their current financial decisions are actually aligned with their purpose? I was actually thinking about that this morning. It's funny you asked. Well, first, what's your financial situation? That's the first thing you need to ask yourself. Do you feel broke? Do you feel like you're not earning enough? Are you currently satisfied with your financial decision, like financial position? If you're not satisfied with your current financial position, that's the first indicator that you're not operating within your purpose, right? Because the Bible says it specifically, your gifts will make room for you. So if you feel like you're packed in, you don't have any room, any wiggle room, then that means you're not operating in the path that God called for you, or say the purpose why you're here. Secondly, let's say you are making, a substantial amount of money, enough that you're comfortable with. The second thing you have to figure out is, like, What is your mood? Do you enjoy the path you're on, or is it a strain, or this is just happen to be something I'm proficient in, but I don't necessarily enjoy the process or enjoy what I'm doing? I'm miserable every day, but I make a lot of money. That's when you take the step back and ask yourself, okay, what am I good at naturally? What am I naturally good at? And what do I naturally enjoy doing? The best example I can give is myself, right? I enjoy teaching. I enjoy talking. I enjoy being in front of people. And it's something I'm naturally good at. So what do we do is anything in life, we have to learn, we have to grow, and we have to put ourselves in position. We have to believe that we're capable of converting this skill set into something that we can monetize. That's the first step, because if you can't believe you can monetize your gifts, you'll never take the steps to do so. So identify what you're good at, identify what you enjoy doing. As soon as those two lines connect, boom, you know you're on the right track. Now we look into how can I grow this skill to a point where I can monetize it. And that's the formula. I gave you the formula. That's the formula on how to ensure that you're on the path of purpose and that you can live it out on a daily basis.
Thank you so much, Mr. Herman. And I know this next person, Antoine Giggle, thank you for asking this question. What is one mindset shift leaders need before they can really begin building wealth intentionally? And so I'm going to give you the purpose lens, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Herman because he is a financial and tax strategist. So I want to make sure he has the opportunity to answer this question. But in terms of purpose and the mindset shift, leaders do need to ensure that they are confident with being aligned with their purpose. There are so many people who tell themselves that they can't do something different because they've always done what they're doing. They've been in an industry for 10 plus years. They're tenured in what they're doing, and they have the misconception that they have to continue doing that because that's what they've always done. And that is a grave mistake. I saw in my career that the moment that I made the pivot from Intel to HR, that my career just took off. I was promoted 5 times in 8 years, and in the federal government, that is unheard of. I have people who I worked with at Peterson Air Force Base who were a GS-11, and this is not talking down on people. This is actually showing how what Mr. Herman was saying, your gift makes room for you, right? And brings you in the presence of great men, brings you in the presence of kings, right? And so I was a GS-7 when I was at Peterson, and then when I became a presidential management fellow, I was promoted to a GS-9. A year later, I was promoted to a GS-11. About a year and a half or so later, I was promoted to a GS-12, and I continued to get promoted even beyond that. But when I went back to Peterson Air Force Base as a GS-12 and then was promoted to a GS-13, there were people who were GS-11s when I was a GS-7, and they were in the same position, same grade. That is a boast on God, what God is able to do, and also just showing the importance of aligning with purpose. And before retiring from the federal government, I was an IR4, which is the equivalent to a GS-15. So if you align with your purpose, shift your mindset that you don't have to keep doing something just because you've already done it. That is a key step that will help you to make the shift. And as Mr. Herman said in episode 59, you're able to turn on your financial faucet. You're able to make it flow more because you're aligned with purpose and you're developing yourself. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Herman. Same question.
Yeah, I like it. That's a great question. I actually have some notes here. What is one mindset shift needed before you can really begin building wealth intentionally? The number one mindset shift, I always say belief, right? Everything starts with belief. But since we're talking specifically about building wealth, the way you view money has to shift completely. Right? The way you structure your finances, the buckets in which you place your money, that has to be identified. So identify what I like to call income producing assets. There's a bucket, there's an account that you need to open specifically for income producing assets. So any dollar you make, every single dollar you bring in, every time you get paid, a portion and percentage of that needs to go into income producing assets. And I'm gonna tell you what happens. What's gonna happen? You're going to, let's say, I don't know what your income is, but let's say you get a check, let's just say $1,000 a week. You make $1,000 a week. So 10% of that, you're going to take $100 and put that towards income generating assets. That could be a checking account that you just put the money aside. And here's what's going to happen when you start doing that. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing is going to happen when you start moving your money, right? And so that's why so little people do it, because they don't see that immediate return on investment. Even if you don't know what the investment is going to be, you need to start developing the habit and developing the discipline of putting the money aside for the income generating asset. And now what you're doing is we talk about spirituality. You're letting God know, hey, look, I'm taking this serious. I know when the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to be ready. Right now, there are no opportunities present themselves because you aren't ready. If someone came to you right now and said, hey, if you had $20,000, we have this opportunity for you to invest in, and we could double your money. Well, what good is that opportunity if you don't have the $20,000 available to invest? So now is the time, before the opportunity presents itself, to start putting that money aside. What are some things? What are some practical things that you can invest in, right? It starts off with knowing, what do you want? What is the path that you desire to pursue? So back to being a speaker. Let's say okay, I want to be a public speaker. I want to be a keynote speaker. What you do is you start investing in courses on communication, right? Learn how to communicate, grow that skill. You want to be an author, right? Take courses that assist you in being an author. But you don't know what path to take or what to invest in until you truly know what direction you want to go into. So if you're moving blindly, there is no advice that anyone can give you, because there are no directions to the unknown. So know where you want to go, and then your path is going to start opening up. But in order to build wealth intentionally, you have to intentionally take money from your income, set it aside so that it can grow in the future. And that is my answer to you. I can't hear you, Dr. April.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that excellent wisdom. I see that we have some additional comments that are coming through. I'll try to get them to show. So we have Nick Ayton, who says this is such an important distinction between earning money and actually building wealth. Thank you so much, Nick. Kobe says, great chemistry between Dr. April and Mr. Herman. You can tell this conversation goes much deeper than surface level financial advice. Thank you so much, Mr. Kobe Minica. Hopefully I'm saying your last name correctly. Ariel says, how can entrepreneurs balance reinvesting in their businesses while still protecting and building personal wealth? Mr. Herman, I'll let you answer Ariel's question.
Okay, Ariel. So first thing I want to throw out there, right? Anytime you're getting coaching, anytime you're getting mentorship, anytime you're asking questions and seeking answers, chances are the most effective information you're going to give is going to be counterintuitive to anything you've ever done, right? Because if you already had that information, there's be something you'll be doing. So any coaching is going to be sound completely unorthodox. I just want to preface that, because what I'm about to tell you is what most people need to do is completely forget about retirement. Most people that's the traditional, let me save my money, let me put it in the stock market, let me put it aside so it can grow gradually at 6 to 8%. And when I turn 65, I could live a comfortable life. But is a comfortable life really the life you desire? Or do you desire to live a dynamic life? I believe that's the reason people start business, right? If you wanted to live a normal life, you wouldn't be on this call. You would be clocked in, working a 9 to 5, getting your paycheck and paying it, pouring into your 401k. But if you're starting a business, that means you want more, you want grandeur. So rather than taking your money, and this is me answering your question, rather than taking your money and putting it in the stock in retirement at a 6%, you take that money and you invest in marketing your business. Now let's take a step back, because the first thing we told you before is it's not about how much money you earn, it's about how much money you're able to keep. And your question to me is, how can entrepreneurs balance reinvesting in their businesses, which is important, while still protecting and building personal wealth? So the first step you want to do is analyze your lifestyle and your expenses, right? Because analyzing your personal expenses is what's going to give you the wiggle room to invest and pour back into your business and grow your wealth. I just did a presentation on this. If you earn $10,000 a month, but you have a lifestyle that requires you to pay out $9,000 a month to maintain it, you're only able to sustain $1,000 a month. How can you really grow from there? Whereas if you minimize your expenses because you have an understanding of where you want to go, right? First, you know where you want to go. Ultimately, this is how much money I desire to earn. Well, I'm not there yet. I'm going to minimize my lifestyle. So if I earn $10,000 a month, I'm going to try my best to get that number to $2,000. So my lifestyle cost me $2,000 a month to live. Now I have $8,000 to market my business, grow my business, pour into my income generating assets, put some stuff aside for emergency funds. Like, you give yourself so much wiggle room when you minimize the lifestyle, when you stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and put on this facade, but instead invest in my business, invest in better equipment, invest in a better team, invest in collaborations, to where now I can pay someone who's better at the things I don't like to do, right? Now freeing up my time, freeing up my mind. Now I'm about to go on a quick tangent, but the biggest mistake new entrepreneurs make is that they want to do everything themselves, not realizing you're not good at everything and you don't have the time nor the capacity to do everything yourself. So you need to learn how to delegate your task and focus on what are you good at and what is your role in this business, right? You could be the face. Maybe you're the face of the franchise, but you don't necessarily like fulfillment. So you can delegate fulfilling the actual task of what you're selling, but you're better at marketing. So you're the one out there talking, and now you can focus on bringing in new clients and delegating the actual service of your job. So how do you balance investing in your business? You look at your business as your retirement. How much money can I generate? How much money can I generate? That's you pouring your money into marketing. Yes, you being spread out to where people know who you are. That's the first thing you need to do. So invest in your marketing, lower your lifestyle, and then delegate the actual tasks that you don't enjoy doing, so you can focus on operating in your purpose and funding. And actually now you're providing a blessing to those who need the funds. You know what I'm saying? So that is my advice to you. Just to reiterate, because I like to reiterate: minimize your expenses, focus on marketing, and don't be afraid to delegate tasks and be able to focus on what you're best at.
really appreciate that insight. And in that same vein, when you talk about reducing expenses, reducing expenditures, I want to focus more and delve a little bit more into that. And we'll have one more question that we'll probably be able to answer before we wrap up today. But how can leaders, business owners, and families be wise concerning their tax savings and reducing their tax burden?
Can you repeat that? How can who be wise when reducing their tax, increasing their tax savings and reducing their tax? How can who be wise when reducing their tax?
Families be wise concerning tax savings and reducing their tax burden?
So how can individuals be wise? I'm missing the beginning of your question.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in our private studio chat, and maybe that will help with the question. But for those who are watching, the question that I asked is, how can leaders, business owners, and families be wise concerning tax savings and reducing their tax burden? Because you talked about saving money, reducing expenditures. So how can they do that when it comes to reducing the tax burden and helping with tax savings?
Thank you for all of your using all of your resources to get that question to me. You're very resourceful. So it goes back to what I was saying before. Don't be afraid to pay professionals for insight that you're unaware of. So frequently, because we're in the age of information is at our fingertips, that we feel like we can figure it out on our own, which is wonderful. But often information is given to you partially, right? You don't necessarily understand the nuances that goes into this decision. So don't be afraid to pay professionals for their professional insight and their expertise, right? If you have an AC problem, yeah, you can get on YouTube and try to figure out what the issue is. But you probably do better coming out of pocket and paying an HVAC specialist to come and investigate the problem, right? So same thing with taxes. Get in contact with Herman. Get in contact, build a better relationship with your CPA or your tax preparer, and ask them for the insights of what they can specifically do. Now, y'all are here with me, so I'll give y'all a few tips. The first thing, if you have any like W-2 earners here. Now, I know we probably have a lot of business owners, but as far as families, understanding that, like, what are taxes? Like, how does the whole system operate? And understanding that, one, as a W-2 earner, if all you have is a W-2, the tax code was not built to incentivize you. The tax code was built to incentivize what the government is prioritizing at that time. So, for example, right now, the government is prioritizing oil and gas. They're prioritizing affordable housing. So the tax code is going to reflect extra credits and extra benefits for those who are investing in real estate and those who are investing in oil and gas. Now, for business owners, it is even more essential, right? Because now the tax code was made for you, but how do you take full advantage of it beyond just saying, okay, I get a bunch of write-offs, I can write off my expenses. Everyone knows that, but how to truly take advantage of it is to sit down with your tax preparer or your CPA to fully understand what is your niche, what is your business structure and concept, and what are some of the tax codes that benefit your specific industry. What are some things that we can be taking advantage of right now that you aren't taking advantage of? So, for example, I'm going to take the step back and talk about some basic taxes, right? So there's a thing called standard deductions. That number fluctuates year to year, but let's just say the government says the first $15,000 that you earn, we aren't going to tax you on it. We're not going to charge any taxes for the first $15,000 that you earn. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, and you have children between the ages of 7 and 18 that are, and I say 7 to 18, just because those are generally, they're old enough to understand the concept of any task you're trying to teach them, right? If you can hire your children, if you pay them less than $15,000 a year, guess what happens? you get a $15,000 deduction from your earned income, right? So let's just say you get a $15,000 write-off. You keep that $15,000 in-house because you're paying your children. The money is going to your children, but keep note of the strategy. You paid them $15,000 or less, so they don't have to pay taxes on the money they've earned. Now let's take it a step further. Let's say your child is 8 years old, and for the last 10 years, you've paid them $15,000. You've paid them $150,000 over the last 10 years. What if you opened up an investment account for that child, and the money that you paid them, you put into an investment account, and at 18, they no longer work for you, but you've put in $150,000 into this investment account over the course of 10 years. What if you let it sit for the next 10 years, next 20, the next 30 years? Now your child is 48 years old, sitting on a gold mine because of the tax strategies that you've implemented early on, right? So that's just one tax strategy and investment strategy that you can implement now that'll set your family and legacy on a completely different trajectory financially. So that's just one tip. But ultimately, sit down with your tax preparer, with your CPA, and get these insights.
Mr. Kelly, that was an excellent tip that I'm sure many viewers are not aware of. And I know in the example that you used, you said, for instance, if your child is 8 and you hire them, what is the minimum age? Is there a minimum age, or is that based on state to state, on how old a child can be to actually be employed within a family business?
So there is no age limit as far as how young the child can be, right? Now, there is an age limit as far as old the child can be, but as far as the age, as long as it's your child or grandchild, they qualify. Now, granted, keep in mind, what's the main perk of this strategy? It's because if you can pay anybody under $15,000 and they won't have to, essentially pay taxes on it. But the emphasis is child labor laws, right? A child legally can't work at 7 years old. However, if it's your child, the IRS and the government gives you that wiggle room to do so. So that's the answer to that. Now, the question is, what task? Because in order to take advantage of this tax strategy, the child actually has to do the work, and you actually have to pay them in an account with their name on it. So if you hire your 2-year-old to file paperwork, clearly your child isn't old enough to do that. However, if you let's say you do some marketing, you do pictures, you do commercials, and you have your 2-year-old in the video with you, now you can pay that 2-year-old for marketing, right? And we've all seen it. You may have seen it I see it all the time. There's particular attorneys that they have their commercials and their whole family is in the commercial. It isn't because the attorney wants you to know his family. It's because he's taking advantage of that tax credit.
That's excellent. One last question that a viewer has, and then I'm going to ask you the last couple questions that I have for you. So Lori Todd asked, what are some common financial mistakes you see successful professionals making even after they've started earning significant income?
What are some common financial mistakes you see successful professionals making even after they've started earning significant income? The biggest mistake I see is that someone who's earned an excessive amount of money tends to believe that they know everything, right? But it's like, so for example, doctors, right? You have a medical doctor. He or she is a surgeon. They specialize in their craft, which allowed them to earn a substantial amount of money. But they've spent so much time studying medicine, they don't understand taxes. They don't truly understand financial structure. They just have a lot of money. So remember that example I gave you. It doesn't matter how much money you earn, it's about how much money you're able to keep. So even though they're making $600,000 a year, they're spending $550,000 a year. So they don't understand the financial principle of maintaining a lifestyle, right? Understanding your lifestyle, understanding where you want to go. So the biggest mistake anyone that's making a significant amount of money can make is believing that because they earned the money, they know how to manage the money. So that don't make that mistake. You know business, you know your business. Don't be afraid to hire other professionals to help you manage what you've earned.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. And then what advice would you give your younger self?
You know, I think about that question often. I when I interview people, I ask, particularly older individuals, I ask them, hey, let's say you're 65. If you can go back and give your 35-year-old self a word of advice, what would you ask them? So I think about this question all the time. What would I go back and advice would I give my younger self? And if I could be transparent, I'd leave the guy alone. I wouldn't tell him anything. The reason being, I am a true believer that every single thing that has occurred in our life has brought us here. So of course I can go back and give him advice on, hey, here's how you make money faster, right? You can, if you do this sooner, you'll make a lot more money. Or tell him, hey, bro, like you really lean into your skill sets, right? Lean into like what you enjoy doing and what you're naturally good at, and you excel much quicker. However, every decision I've made, every mistake I've made, everything I've gone through has not only gotten me to where I am now, but has shaped my perspective and helped me become the man I am today. So understanding, and my belief system, I have this belief. I'm gonna give it to y'all, and this may change your life. I believe that we know exactly what we need to know when we need to know it. So often I knew what I knew now back then, or man, I wish I would have known that sooner. I would have done this. Well, if you were meant to know that sooner, you would have known, and you would have made a different decision. You weren't meant to make that other decision. You were meant to make the decision that got you right here, right now. So all of those past mistakes were the things that influenced you to become the person you are today. If you didn't make those mistakes, you wouldn't be this person, right? And you're here listening to this right now so that you can move forward in a different manner. Now, what's going to happen is if you don't listen to the messages you've been getting, because we have a path that we're meant to walk, and God is going to make sure you get the information you need. The problem occurs when you start noticing the pattern. Man, I keep hearing the same thing over and over. They just put it a different way. That's because you weren't listening to the messages God is trying to give you. All right. So you're going to know exactly what you need to know when you need to know it. So what would I go back and tell my younger self? Exactly that. And enjoy the ride, choose excitement, choose adventure, enjoy and embrace every experience. And you'll know what you need to know when you need to know it.
That's excellent. Is there anything else that you want to add that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about today?
I don't know. You're getting me kind of excited. With that type of rain, you're getting a lot of freedom here. But honestly, what I would tell everybody here, regardless of your age, regardless of your financial situation or your relationship situation, it doesn't matter. Nothing in life lasts forever. Whether you're on a trajectory and everything's great, eventually there's going to be some type of challenge you ensue. Regardless if you're in the middle of the biggest stronghold and setback of your life, you're going to get through it, right? I live by the mindset of operate as though everything is going to work out, because it will. And my proof of that is everything that's ever occurred in your life has worked out, right? You're here. If the only destination is death, right? I hate to put it so bluntly, but life is a journey that you haven't arrived until the journey ends. So just trust that everything is going to work out and pursue life as though everything is going to work out, because it always does and it always will. Now, will it work out the way you plan for it? Very rarely, because the human mind is incapable of predicting the future, although it tries to do it all the time. So the second thing I'll tell you, all right, I told you, the second thing I'll tell you is that your mind is the only place you you have full control. So always project success, always project joy, always project excitement. Because why would you do anything else? Why would you think of a task and say, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail? Why would that's what you're projecting into the future. So if you're controlling the projection, why not project success? That's all I got, because I'm gonna just keep going.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. I appreciate you. There will be a part 3 at some point. We were able to successfully get through all the questions. Thank you so much for all the viewers who are watching today on YouTube. And I don't think it's streaming to Facebook. I think there's an issue with that. And it is streaming to Instagram, but I don't think we have anyone watching on Instagram. It looks like everyone's on YouTube. I don't see any viewers who have asked questions on LinkedIn. So I think it's just YouTube that has all the activity today. So thank you so very much, Mr. Herman Kelly. It has been an absolute joy to have you on the Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson podcast. How can viewers contact you if they want to contact you or consult with Next Steps Consulting?
The best way to get in contact with me would be via email. That is info, that's INFO, at mynextsteps, with an S, .biz, B-I-Z. Again, that's info at mynextsteps.biz. That's my email address. You can also catch me on any social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. My name is the same across the board, Mr. Finance, HK. The reason for that name is because although I am a licensed tax consultant, business strategist, wealth consultant, credit repair specialist, so all things finance, I kind of embody that. So I like the opportunity to share my wisdom across the board and not necessarily limit myself to one particular facet of finance. So any questions via finance, I'm your guy.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Herman Kelly. This has been an absolute joy. I know I'm going to see you backstage in the studio. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in live today. Tuesday mornings are not the traditional day that we have a live stream, so I'm so grateful for all of the many guests who have tuned in today. We have over 650 live viewers on all platforms, so thank you all for tuning in today, and we invite you to tune in to another episode of the Purpose Today with Dr. April Dobson podcast this Thursday at 6:30 Eastern Time. Make it an amazing, purpose-filled day, and thank you again, Mr. Herman Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And I'll be putting the link in the chat if anyone is interested in booking your Zoom for the Purpose Aligned and amazing purpose-filled.
Dreaming of writing a book, launching a podcast, or creating a digital course? Ready to finally align your career, creativity, and impact? The Purpose Aligned Life Premium Coaching Cohort is here to help you turn purpose into reality. You'll receive tailored services, a personalized one-on-one assessment, 10 weekly group sessions, and exclusive strategy session, all for your desired transformation.